Paul, we're back again for another week of Sky Fantasy Football. Game Week 2 concludes this evening. How has your Sky weekend been?
Pretty dreadful. Dreadful. Average. I didn't make the Kane move in the end yesterday, so captained 1 point, Brennan Johnson, so wasn't there.
Oh, really? You didn't?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
No, I didn't.
Did you not know that? So I was up cheering when he scored, which was when it was disallowed. That was a 16-point swing.
That's why you were a bit hacked off before we came on. About we were just discussing it before we came live about the goals. Go on.
Oh, I'm not too bothered about the Kane one, other than the unfortunateness of it happening in the night, because even if it was an own goal, which I think it should have been, but it's only a 4-point difference anyway if you captain them. So.
Should we just clear up these goals? I was having a bit of a tiff this morning on Twitter with a couple of people around this Chelsea thing. I just put something like, Chelsea played better than Tottenham. They deserved to win, but it was great to see Spurs come away with a point, which they wouldn't normally have got. And they're all kicking off around how the goals shouldn't have stood. Let's go with
if a throw wasn't a throw-in that was given in the third minute, the whole game plays out differently anyway. So.
Exactly. But the 2 points that people are whinging about are the foul on Havertz for the first goal, which wasn't a foul because he took the ball. Clearly got a toe on the ball, so he took the ball. So that's just gone dead in the water. Good goal.
I mean, I didn't think Højbjerg's goal should have. So whilst I agree with you on that point, I didn't think Højbjerg's goal should have counted though, because I can't remember who it was, ran across the goalkeeper's line of sight and was offside when he done so. So
I think I was mad out. The linesman and the ref have made a decision, backed up by VAR with multiple cameras anyway, all the time they need to make a decision. Still said it's a goal, and still people are like, but it's the referee. So that's the first one, and the second one, people are whinging about. A foul, like 3 phases of play before the goals were scored, that it should never have been a corner, even though there was a corner before the corner, and even though there was a passage of play before that as well. But you're absolutely right what you say. If there wasn't a foul in the third minute, the game plays differently.
Just defend the corner better.
Just get on with it now. Just get on with it. I know Dan's in the chat. He's been going mad today about the Kane goal, which he thought wasn't a Kane goal. As a Kane owner, I'm delighted.
He had Koulibaly as captain as well.
Oh, so he's laughing. What's the matter with him?
Greedy. Couple of points off.
Greedy. I scored 64. I did the Haaland to Kane move, my first transfer of the season in my main team. I've got Salah captain tonight, Van Dijk and Alisson, which I'm quite excited about, because I would guess that maybe not many have got all those, obviously with a variety of keepers and stuff. I've had some questions about Matip. Apparently, there's been a team leak. Someone's saying in the chat that Joe Gomez is going to start ahead of Matip. I don't know how right that is. You would guess that would be the case if Matip isn't playing.
7.8 million, I think it is.
Yes. And he's got a 3-for-1 over Spurs, I think, haven't he? Gomez as well. But
two transfers to get him in. And then get him back out. And I would guess if you brought him in, most people would already have Liverpool coverage as well. So it's not like you're getting a captaincy out of it.
Exactly that. Obviously quite fortunate yesterday with Kane. He did have a 1-on-1 as well, which he missed, and stuff. So, it's just what it is.
Do you know what, so I was swithering.
Whatever that is.
throughout the week, and I think it was with Jesus' performance on Saturday made me much more comfortable about captaining him next Saturday. And when I'm in doubt about something, I tend to preserve the transfer rather than make the move. So had I known Kane would have got the 14 points yesterday, would I have made the transfer? Probably, but I'm not too disheartened that I didn't.
No, that's fair. And it's going to be an interesting one. We'll chat about it later. We've had some questions about it as well around best captain for Saturday. Kane against Wolves. Jesus against Bournemouth. Obviously, I think Haaland's playing Sunday, isn't he? Away to Newcastle. I'm going off that move now, but we'll talk about that again later. Please subscribe and welcome to everyone in the chat. Manchester peed off Brennan Johnson's goal was chalked off. Yeah, it was It was
rightly so. Rightly so.
Yeah, rightly so. Joseph Robinson in the chat. Ollie Paul, JMC70, Dan Cox, still in shock that the Kane goal hasn't been reviewed, let alone rightly changed an own goal. I don't know. I think the ball had a bit of spin on it, so I think it would have hit the inside of the post and gone in anyway. It's all about the spin, Dan. But he did captain Koulibaly for 26 points for a good week. Lee Williams is in, Prynhawn Da, Kicking Up Dust, Shane White, Matt Daniels, John Acornley, Dale Turner. What to do with Matip? He's asking, is Gomez an option? Is he an option for a few weeks? He is, but as Paul rightly said, it's 2 transfers. He may get 20, 30 points in 3 weeks. He may not. Is that enough for you to take out for someone? Is there anyone in the back line at the moment who you really want to take out? I've seen a bit of disdain for the Spurs at the moment, but they're home to Wolves next. I don't really get it.
Yeah, so if I was in that position, Matip's quite 10.1, I think, something like that. So I would maybe look and see if there's anything else that you want to restructure in your team. Don't back yourself in a corner by picking Gomez tonight. And maybe is Koulibaly somebody you want that's going to for long term, and you're going to use him as a captain somewhere down the line. I know you're not getting the fixture gain, but if you're going to captain at some point anyway, you're gaining that fixture in the future by doubling up there. So maybe I think I would hold off and have a look at the rest of your team and see what other planned moves that you've got in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Matip might even be back. There's a full week before they play again next Monday away to United. As dreadful as United are, they could score. So at Old Trafford, even if Liverpool win 4-1, it needs that goal, doesn't it? So I'm not convinced of that move personally. Chris Moller's in, Lewis Nichols, Sam Arundel, Kieran Sutton asks about Chelsea defenders. Is now the time to get one in? Finding it hard. Tom Hartnell's in. Sorry, Paul.
Next Sunday would be the time to get them in, because you do get the fixture gain there if there's somebody you want to take out on the Saturday. Okay.
So what are we going to look at today, Paul?
I was just going to have a look at kind of the winners from the weekend. So those that started off with these players, highly owned players, would have done well at the weekend. What the consensus of the moves were at the weekend and how those panned out against, I guess, some of the engaged managers. It's difficult because at this time of the season, I don't want to use the transfer stats because
it's always.
I know that people are going gung ho on transfers as well. And then I've had a look at the questions, so prepped some answers and got a couple of ideas for some of the questions that are a bit looser, like is there any opportunities to move off an array of players or come on an array of players too.
We've had millions of questions today, haven't we? It's going to be fun to go through those. Fred is mentioned once or twice as well, which I'm not too happy about, but we'll come to that later. Anyway, the winners, Gabriel Jesus, top of the shop, 21 points. Unbelievable performance.
Yeah, and what's crazy is his ownership wouldn't be nearly as high as what it was if they didn't start off with that single captaincy day as well, in my opinion. Anyway, just based on the price point and based on people wanting Haaland and Kane for captaincy throughout. And it seemed, apart from that game, that Arsenal are always playing when there's a large proportion of games on, so you would have covered captaincy off elsewhere as well. Although the 9.5 million is a nice price point, so perhaps I'm doing them a disservice there. I think those that started with Koulibaly, like obviously bringing him in yesterday, using a transfer, like turned out great, and you're picking up 13 points, doubled like Dan did. But a lot of people will have started off with Koulibaly. I had a look and vaguely considered doing the move myself. I do want a Chelsea defender long term. I was a bit disconcerted with passing stats from the first game, and I'm getting taken off a bit earlier. But that looks like I'm fully integrated, and I think he's just going to play the Rudiger role long term now. I've definitely earmarked him for a future transfer. But he's starting, with a lot of people, including myself, and I think you as well, Fergi, started off with Cancelo, which he's done great, 22 points in the first 2 games. But if you look at Walker at 9 million and Ake at 8 million, considering City haven't done any defensive reinforcements yet, and even Ederson at 7.9. Man City had clear lowest XGC last season, and I don't know what it is if Liverpool get peppered shots, like more shots, because they allow players to strike from distance, and hence Alisson makes a lot of saves.
I just think Alisson just makes some amazing saves, which keeps clean sheets out of nothing. He made some incredible saves last season, which one gets him save points, but two obviously probably exaggerates the defensive ability of Liverpool, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, some people, like a few would have started with Ederson as well. So even that double up or triple up on City is really reaping benefits. Same with Newcastle as well. Like I think in my Friday first draft, I had Nick Pope in team. That's back-to-back clean sheets for him. And Nick Pope, we all know, like Henderson, are two historically great Sky goalkeepers. So you can see why a lot of people would have started with Pope, and even Trippier. Trippier's not someone I'd really considered in Sky from the lack of bonus perspective, but Newcastle do go on a bit of a torrid run from now though. So those that have started with Newcastle defensive assets have done well, but I can see them potentially moving off soon. And I mentioned Henderson there. I think that Nottingham Forest have got 4 single game days coming up, or one's a 2-team game day, but I don't think a lot of their players will be highly owned. And it was actually Luke Williams had mentioned in the group chat that was another day that Henderson is the clear standout from Forest, especially as all these new signings are coming in. So those that started with Henderson and perhaps avoided Johnson or any other Forest players have done well as well.
Johnson was unlucky, with the goal. It could have all been so different, didn't it? But Henderson.
I thought he played well, but that doesn't transition into Sky points, does it? He's going to be another one of these, picks up loads of twos, and then you maybe score, I don't know, 4 or 5 goals this season. But trying to predict when those goals come and captaincies, etc., is going to be difficult.
Nico Williams was outstanding on the weekend. It's probably fair to say 7.9. I want to say, is that right? Be an option for you as well?
I think it's cheaper than that. Okay. I think I'll double check. But
6.9. Apologies, 6.9.
6.9. Yeah. Probably not for me. I just don't see Forest. I think there'll be a lack of bonus over the season, and I don't think Forest will keep enough clean sheets to entice me with that. I still think 5 at the back's probably my preferred formation as well.
Yeah, West Ham's XG yesterday was quite high, I think. Obviously they missed a penalty, but they also had a few chances. So yeah, maybe the clean sheet is kind of exaggerated, but Henderson's propensity for making saves is always going to help, even if they concede. He gets a 4 or 5 pointer. Really good stuff. Any other winners from the weekend, Paul?
Those that started off with budget enablers in midfield, Kamara picked up another 4-pointer, Caicedo picked up another 4-pointer from Brighton. I wouldn't be too worried about Paulinho's. He only got 3 tackles, but he got booked early on. So
I had to be careful.
As a defensive mid, you're not going to go gung ho on there as well. So yeah, I still think there's a valid argument for 2 budget enablers in midfield just now. Nothing from the weekend has steered me off that, and if anything, there's been a kind of few more emerged from that bucket as well. Okay.
So there were some transfers made this weekend, especially some of the Spurs boys. So I brought in Kane for Haaland, duly rewarded with a wonderful on-target header. Some people brought in Son as well. What are your take on the transfers on the weekend?
Yeah, I'm starting to come round to the fact that I think a transfer is worth less points now, in my opinion. I'd still put it around kind of the 10, 12 points mark. And maybe I was saying at the start of the pod that I think if I had known, it's easy making suggested transfers after you know their points, but I think I'd be happy as a Kane owner if I was picking up 14 points there with going into the Wolves game, even if I had intended to move the player on again. Albeit people are suggesting that hokey cokey is worth 2 transfers, which it is, but I'm not convinced that Cancelo can't keep up scores with Haaland. I think they'll finish at the end of the season. They're going to finish on similar points. I think the fear for everyone is that the ownership point and the FOMO that if Haaland gets a hat trick, then you lose quite a bit of ground. But Cancelo very, very seldom picks up 2 points. So even if City concede or anything, then the likelihood is that it's not going to be 17-20 double to 40 for a hat trick against 4, because Cancelo's going to pick up kind of 5 double to 10 anyway. So you're offsetting the risk slightly, knowing that he's going to pick up points, and I think they'll be equal over the season. So I guess there's an argument for not moving back onto Haaland, and therefore you've made the one transfer, got the captain yesterday, 14 points from one transfer. How things work out, I think that works out okay.
Yeah, I agree. And Spurs obviously haven't got the equivalent, have they, of a Cancelo. They've obviously they've got Romero and stuff who did well. 4 points yesterday. He'll get regular kind of pass and tackle bonus, but they just haven't got the threat of Cancelo or the regularity of massive 9, 10, 12, 13 point hauls, are they? So I agree with you, and I also think that the away to Newcastle match for Man City is going to be a tough old game, and I can see that being quite a low scoring affair. I did think the same for the West Ham game, but West Ham have already shown losing away to Forest as well. They're not quite on it yet, whereas Newcastle haven't conceded a goal yet, albeit I thought Brighton were incredibly lucky on the weekend. I've got my eyes on a couple of Brighton players, which I'm looking a bit, but their fixtures are good. It won't be one of
their centre halves. I think their passing stats have dropped.
No,
I don't. They continued at the weekend too.
I don't know if you watched the highlights on the weekend, but Brighton were all over him. How they didn't score, I'll never know. And yeah,
I just expect.
You know what's coming, don't you? You know what's coming.
You mentioned Trossard.
Yeah. It wasn't Trossard actually. There's a couple of those. We'll come to in a bit. But in my second team, I'm thinking of bringing one in for Callum Wilson in a week or two. Where were we? Sorry, Paul. The transfers in Kane and Son.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So yeah. Obviously, Son did it. The Son move didn't work out, and I guess with I mentioned earlier as well with Jesus doing really well on Saturday, I think there's a potential that he's going to be highly captained down. I imagine there'll be a big split. Those that went Kane, I imagine the majority will stick with Kane captaincy as part of the plan, and the rest will go Jesus. So it's going to be a straight knockout from that perspective.
Yeah, I think defensively, I think I've been a bit surprised with Bournemouth because everyone expected them to lose against Villa on the opening day. They obviously beat Villa 2-0. Everyone expected them to get spanked at Man City. I think it took City a fair while to kind of get through. I know they won 4-0 in the end, right? But that for a newly promoted team with kind of Haaland there. So Haaland, what do you have? 8 touches in the whole game. I don't think it's maybe as easy a game as we thought it was going to be. Because obviously, if you think of Jesus playing as a number 9, where Haaland was playing as a number 9, if Jesus gets kind of starved of service, and obviously, the Arsenal wingers midfield are very good, but they're not of the class of Man City's. If Man City were struggling to get the ball to Haaland, I can see the same happening. So I think I'll be going for Kane against Wolves. And talking of Wolves, Paul, you want to have a quick chat about their defenders?
Yeah, so just the passing stats for the 2 centre defenders, Nathan Collins and Max Kilman, again, really high at the weekend. I think both got 77 passes. So they could be in the same bracket as what we're looking at, Gehi and Anderson for Crystal Palace when their fixtures look a little bit better. It's worth keeping an eye on in their passing stats. I think there's an opportunity to move on to a Wolves defender. Yeah, it's a week on Sunday. So if there's somebody that you didn't want in your team and you wanted to downgrade somewhere to free up cash to use elsewhere, then there might be an opportunity there. I guess it's not. I'd want to see a bit more from them first, and maybe this is one where you get 7 or 8 games worth of data first before making a move. It's probably more advisable.
Yeah, I suppose the question is, so I've seen some people getting a bit fed up with the Spurs defence, which is, I mentioned earlier, I'm quite surprised at. Obviously, they shouldn't probably have conceded against Southampton. You would have expected them to concede against Chelsea. But moving forward now, their fixtures are really good. But in terms of who you think a Wolves defender could replace, I've also seen a bit of impatience with Saliba as well, because he's not getting the passing. Would you consider putting if you were thinking now of doing it, would you consider putting in for one of those? Because not much room in people's defence at the moment.
So would it be for Saliba? I think the only consideration to this would be if I was trying to free up money to move elsewhere, like perhaps, I don't know, this sounds like an awful downgrade to suggest, but say you did you're wanting to free up money to get in a few mid-priced players. You downgraded Van Dijk to a Wolves defender to gain a fixture, and then it freed up the money to move to a Koulibaly or to get the extra money that you needed for a premium striker or something like that. I would be thinking of it as grouped transfers or chain moves to move towards that. I know that Van Dijk situation doesn't work out perfectly in fixtures, but it was just an example of, I think I'd be using it as a downgrade as opposed to a sideways move. Like I certainly wouldn't be moving a Spurs player or Saliba onto a Wolves player at a similar price. And there's definitely more value in the former too. And as I say, I think I'd still want more information on teams like Wolves and Crystal Palace last year before committing to that as well. Because there was times where I think Southampton went through 3 or 4 games of picking up really good passing stats last year, and after the 3 or 4 games, they just got battered a couple of games and then didn't pick up any bonus again. So yeah, I'd want to see the longevity in it before committing to anything as well.
I think personally, I'm finding it hard to look outside of anyone from the top teams or those who kind of already in my team, is their fixtures. All their fixtures are so good for such a long time. Like Spurs, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea's improved now as well. Finding it
it's just the value. Yeah, I just think it's the value in those players. So even if you're where's the most valuable players in those teams that perhaps weren't obvious at the start, like Ake, Cucurella, there'll be even Koulibaly. I think when you compare, do you think that he's going to keep nearly as much clean sheets and points as a Van Dijk or someone that's a little bit more expensive? And can you use that extra 1.5 million to then upgrade one of your lower priced, like a Saliba, then to an Ake? That feels like a massive upgrade.
But do you think players like Ake and Cucurella, just for example, do you think they're going to start 90% of games for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks? Or
I think Cucurella. I think there's a good chance Cucurella does.
Right, okay.
Maybe not so much Ake. I think that's possibly short term. But if Man City don't sign another defender, then Walker at 9 million's good value as well, I think.
Yeah, I think Ake will get, especially when the Champions League starts in a few weeks. I think Ake will get some games at left back and try to go to right back. Personally, but yeah, I suppose this is the point. If Walker's going to play 75-80% of games, he's still going to score a lot of points, isn't he?
Yeah. Everyone says every season that Walker's not going to play. It does feel like that, and he's not glamorous because he doesn't pick up attacking returns ever, but he has been picking up passing bonus. So maybe that's something that he hadn't been doing regularly in previous seasons.
It's crazy how Cancelo gets so many attacking returns, and he plays on one side, and Walker plays the other. And I know they kind of shift across. He moves a bit forward, but you would still think that Walker would get some attacking returns, but he only gets about 2 a season, maybe. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, just tuck in. Yeah, Arsenal were deploying something similar, but I think that's because Ben White's primarily a centre half, and he's been playing right back, isn't it? Like Zinchenko was really far advanced on Saturday.
Okay, let's have a look at game week 3. Let's have a look at the fixtures, Paul. Obviously, we've got Liverpool and Crystal Palace still to play this evening. So, advice for you for people looking at Gomez, potentially for a restructure, but not like a 1-for-1 swap.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it regardless. I don't think. I just feel it'd be another transfer that you're going to use down the line. And like you said earlier on, there's a good chance Matip will be back. It's not. There's not really been that much talk about how serious it is or anything.
He missed training on Friday, and I think that's all we've really heard.
Yeah.
But it could be anything. It could, it could be a knock. It could be, it could be back. And just say it's a full week. It's not even like they're playing on Friday or Saturday. They're playing next Monday, away to Man United, which they should comfortably win the match, but they got a high chance of conceding, I think, personally.
Yeah, not for me. And there was one of the questions about asking, would Diaz to Van Dijk be a good swap? I think I'd stick with Diaz just now.
Same.
Man City's fixtures are great.
Yeah. Looking at Saturday, so we've already said Spurs and Wolves 12:30, Leicester and Southampton, Fulham and Brentford, Everton and Forest, Palace and Villa, and then Bournemouth and Arsenal at 5:30. So you think there's going to be a split in captaincy? I'm not sure what the ownerships are. Are they quite similar at the moment?
Jesus is overall 51%, and Kane, I thought, was something like 30%, but I'll double check just now. There's 26%.
Oh, okay.
So I think the majority of people that own Kane or captain Kane.
Yeah.
And I think that leaves anybody else that's got Jesus or captain Jesus. And then if I was picking next best captaincy, like Maddison,
yeah, maybe. There's not a lot there, is there?
No. Well, Leicester Southampton, that's a 9-0 game, right? So what is it, like Vardy and Maddison always do well in that fixture. Yeah, it'd be Kane / Son, Jesus and Maddison, probably in that order for me. I don't own the former two, so
I'm quite excited to own Kane there as a bit of a differential, because I think he's got a chance of pretty good haul there home to Wolves, personally. Spurs are really good at home. They score lots of goals at home. I think he's been, he was unfortunate not to get anything in the first game. Obviously got the header yesterday, goal on target with a bit of spin. And I fancy him to do well. I think Arsenal will probably beat Bournemouth, but I do think that Kane has got more chance of getting a big haul than Jesus has against Bournemouth, personally.
Jesus, would you pick, if you had Son and Jesus, who would you captain?
I think I'd still go for Son. I would, against Wolves. Just think, Wolves, they just didn't look great towards the end of last season. Lost to Leeds on the opening day, I want to say. Conceded a penalty on the weekend. I know they drew in the end against Fulham, but it's only the Fulham attack when you compare it against Kane, Son, and Kulusevski. It's a different animal. So I fancy Spurs. Moving on to Sunday, we get to see the teams for West Ham and Brighton, Leeds and Chelsea, Newcastle, Man City. Interesting day, this one, I feel.
Yeah, I think I would captain Haaland, but if I didn't own Haaland and I was in your position, and I'd be looking for the weeks ahead to see who and where I'd be captaining people. But if I'm looking at the game in isolation and already owned Cancelo, I think I'd captain Cancelo. But if I owned both like I do, then I'll be captaining Haaland. Yeah,
just looking at the following week, Man City obviously home to Palace on the Saturday, but Liverpool are home to Bournemouth. So there'll probably be a big split there, I'm guessing, in terms of captaincy too. So and then Spurs go to Forest.
And Arsenal host Fulham as well that day. So
oh wow, yeah. But then on the following Wednesday, which is the midweek games, both Man City and Spurs play on the same day, but City have a far superior fixture home to Forest, Spurs away to West Ham. So it is a tough one of kind of what to do, because I think the overwhelming and on that same day Liverpool host Newcastle, but on that Wednesday the 31st, I think the overwhelming captain will probably be Haaland at home to Forest, you would guess.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we're tempted maybe just to get it done rather than have to make an agonising decision on the night and have to change out Kane when he's playing on the night for Haaland. That is not a pretty thing to do, is it? So a lot to think about there. Koulibaly, captain away to Leeds.
Well, Leeds' passing stats. Remember, there was a time where like no opposition players were getting passing stats against Leeds, but that seems to not be the case anymore. So there's certainly an argument there. Although Leeds do look good going forward, it's at the back that they still look a bit suspect. So I still think that Cancelo and Haaland are far superior options for captaincy than Koulibaly.
Okay.
But it's a good opportunity to get on Koulibaly
Yeah.
if you plan to transfer him. Use Chelsea for captaincy, and there's a game day coming up where Chelsea look a good captaincy option. So even moving, or like I know he's not pulled up trees yet, but even like someone like Sterling could be a good opportunity. You know, take advantage of the extra fixture, bring Sterling in there with a view to captaining him on that Chelsea game day. I think it's the following week, is it?
It's Tuesday the 30th. And the 4 fixtures for that game day are Fulham and Brighton. So those who will have Palhinha will have a captain of sorts. Palace and Brentford, Southampton and Chelsea, and then Leeds and Everton. So Chelsea's probably a outstanding one, but away to Southampton, you know, again, you fancy Chelsea to win. It's a tough one there.
They look good for passing bonus again at the back, so you're starting on a floor of 5 as opposed to 2.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of days. I can see some transfers being made over those couple of days, not Tuesday and Wednesday. I just noticed Spurs play twice. They play on Sunday, the 28th of August, and then they play on the Wednesday as well. It's going to be an interesting one there.
Yeah, something that new listeners, in particular, I used to talk about last season. I've started doing it again this weekend. And Dave Simple Gull mentioned that. I think he started a thread on Twitter about it as well. As I always think of what my overhaul team would be at any stage, and then like make small moves towards that. Now maybe with 1.9 game weeks past, maybe that's not enough information to start doing that. But I have got a rough idea or loose idea, and maybe making 1 or 2 moves next weekend to kind of get towards that, to gear me up and correct some mistakes I think I've made, and take some advantage of newfound information that I've got. I might be looking to do that next weekend.
Just before we move on to next game, what has your thinking changed at all in terms of transfer usage pre-World Cup? So I think I'm pretty set still on taking it slow and not being aggressive. I think I'm actually quite enjoying it because you don't have to put as much thought into it. So I'm quite enjoying it. Have your thoughts changed at all? Or?
They haven't really. I did say that there was an opportunity to reset my team with 3 or 4 moves after a couple of weeks, and then stand still. So that's definitely a potential tactic to use. I think something I learned over the last few years playing in particular, and especially on a few instances last year, was that there was a few times when I was debating moves right up until 10 minutes before kickoff. And each time I felt I was in that position, I didn't do anything. I think I can't remember which time it was. There was 1 out of maybe 4 or 5 times that this came up last season where it didn't work out. And the move that I was going to do would have worked out really well. But then the other 4 times, so examples being bringing in, and this sounds crazy right now, but bringing in Ryan Fraser for Newcastle versus Everton on a single match day. I think he'd scored in consecutive weeks leading up to that game. The Wolves Leeds game, and then there was a time when it was when I had earmarked a Chelsea defender to bring in, and then the Chelsea team sheet dropped, and all of their back 3 was different to the back 3 that I expected it to, and then I was like panicking. Oh, should I make this move? And then the move that I was panicking over wouldn't have worked out, and I held off. So I'm still in that position where if I'm in doubt,
don't do it.
I mean, if there's a little bit of doubt, but I've got a logical reason for doing it, then I'll push on. You're not guaranteed anything in the transfers that you make, but yeah, if I'm kind of on a 50-50, I err on the side of caution rather than making a move, and that transfer might come in handy later on down the season.
How are you feeling about your overall points and rank at the moment?
Yeah, not particularly great, but I don't know if it's a few seasons back. Remember the open weekend? We didn't have, neither of us had Salah
against Leeds when he had a hat trick.
And then Vardy was popular against West Brom. It won like 3-0 or 3-1 on the Sunday, and he was popular captain as well. So I must have came out that weekend 100,000 or something like that. So I mean, not great, especially when you see a lot of engaged, good, seasoned managers with good scores. But I just started muting people on Twitter, so doesn't make me feel as bad. What the worst thing about Twitter is the fact that when people like things, like the thing that they've liked comes up now, where it used to be only retweets. So I've had to go into the people that they're liking and then mute them as well, so I don't see it. But no, people sell it like people are within their rights to celebrate when they're doing well and stuff. I'm more like talking about the thought of doing something rather than necessarily the outcome. But yeah, maybe it's because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter doing really, really well and some good picks, and I still don't think that my team's got too many holes in it. I mean, if Liverpool kept a clean sheet on the opening day against Fulham, then my team would look a lot better. And if they keep a clean sheet tonight, my team will look a lot better than what it's currently doing as well. So I've got to remember that. The Gameweek's not even done yet. Although I didn't make the Kane move, I stored the transfer, so I'm one transfer up in that sense that I can use further down the line as well. So yeah, I'm not too concerned by it all.
Oh, good. No, I feel the same. It's strange because I feel like I'm having good days, like captain scoring, keeping a couple of clean sheets, getting some bonus, and rah rah rah. And I look at my leagues and my rank, and I'm like right down the bottom of everything. And yes, it's a strange feeling because normally you get a bit of a vibe, don't you? If you're doing well, you tend to see green arrows. If you think you've had a bit of a stinker, you tend to see red. But I think I'm doing quite well. But I've seen red arrows, so I'm not overly concerned. But it is a bit of a strange feeling in all formats. So I've just got to hope that people are being uber aggressive and using transfers and stuff. And obviously, my strategy of waiting until the second half will pay off when it matters.
I can't even say that it's 50-50 decisions that I've got wrong, because I mean, I still in Sky, especially with Shelvey being out, I didn't think Bruno Guimaraes was going to be as good an option, and the removal of the man of the match when in some games he is clearly the best player and would have picked it up. So he wasn't someone I was going to look to get in, but I could have made that move. And Trippier at the start of the season was somebody that is highly owned within the game. He's got good attacking output, but looking at Newcastle's first 6 or 7 games and as a collection, just this didn't appeal to me. So Newcastle's kept 2 clean sheets in a row. Nick Pope would be a good sort of as a popular selection. So in general, overall rank, I'm not, like I say, I'm not too discerning. I'm pretty happy with the decisions I made. Maybe one or two I could have went a different route, but I don't see that I would have had that much change on my team and the way that I've set up anyway.
Okay, cool. Let's just have a quick look at the final game of Game Week 3. So next Monday, already said United versus Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool assets are going to be the call of the day. We've had some messages around what to do with like Rashford and players like that. Would you move Rashford on ahead of that Liverpool game?
I usually discourage people to make transfers unless they're getting a fixture gain out of it. But with the extra transfers this season and with the information you're picking up in the first few weeks, if it's a restructure move to get a team that you want, because unless you're on 4-4-2, but if you're kind of pinned into 5-3-2, Martinelli just now is outperforming his like XG. So I wouldn't even make the switch directly to him. But if I was picking up a budget enabler like I can say though, because I need that budget to make a move further down the line, and perhaps that gives me the upgrade for someone to Koulibaly on the Sunday. You only get one fixture gain out of the two moves, but as a collective and as a team structure, that might be the right thing to do. So I would look for something like that if you want to get rid of Rashford.
Cool. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for the mountains of questions. We'll go through as many as we can. Firstly, Dan Cox, does Fergie think Fred will get 16 points in the next two games? I'm not holding out much hope, I've got to be honest. Who's the best captain tonight? Assuming probably Salah will be the best captain. Do you think he'll be the best captain, Paul?
This is one of these decisions where Van Dijk's not going to be far behind him at the end of the season. So there's going to be games when Salah outscores Van Dijk, and there's going to be games when Van Dijk outscores Salah. Again, based on the ownership, I think it's more riskier to go against Salah.
I think we'll see. I think this evening, if Darwin Núñez starts, which I think he will, I'm excited because I think we'll see a bit of what Liverpool are going to be like going forward. Because my instinct at the moment, based on what we've seen so far, when Núñez plays, is Salah shifts quite far wide, and it's going to be interesting to see if Núñez ends up being the better Sky option than Salah longer term. Obviously, we're the comments we're making about Salah being the best player in the game and matching Van Dijk are based on previous performance when Liverpool have played a front three with a very deep false nine where Salah and Mane are the key men. It looks to me at the moment like Núñez is playing that out and out 9 role. They're all and everyone's looking for Núñez, including Salah. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more this evening. And against United, it's going to be interesting. But definitely not taking Salah out ahead of Man United. I think it's Bournemouth after that as well. So yeah, they're not going anywhere for now. Even the Núñez and Salah could be, it could be an option depending how sharp he looks this evening. He says Kane's goal going wide, wasn't it? Don't think so, mate. And he said, please can you mention the 4 Nations League table? Yeah, we haven't got a screenshot of it yet because it's a bit early. We'll get it up in the next few weeks. I'm assuming because Dan has said to mention it at the top.
Wins. We'll put it up when someone catches Dan.
Exactly. I think Dan was top. I want to say Liam's second? I can't remember now. I think our best 2 teams are joint on points at the moment. And Ian was 5th, I believe. I may be wrong. It's something along those lines.
I don't know. It's all quite tight, and I think Dan had like a 15-point lead at the top or something like that.
Cool. Dennis for Forest's single game days. Anyway, that's Ammon Tatler. I certainly won't be going for Dennis. I don't think.
I could be wrong, so apologies if it was meant sincerely, but I think it's maybe a view back to last season on the single game day where he got sent off.
That was a killer. Noli asks, who is the best Chelsea player to bring in with the eye on the captaincy? I think we've probably mentioned Koulibaly. Are we just looking at yesterday's goal a bit too much, or do we generally think it's the best option?
I think he picked up tackling, picked up passing bonus.
Yeah.
He had that second chance, albeit it was a second volley, but it was a wild swing at it.
Yeah.
I just think he fit into the Rudiger mould, and we all thought that Rudiger was the best Chelsea option in previous seasons. So,
agree. Matt asks about the Kane to Haaland move next Sunday 2-0. Is it too much of a risk not to do that and save transfers? I'm tempted, Matt. I'd probably look a bit further down the line as well. That's what I was just looking at a couple of games after that. you're probably going to want Haaland ahead of Kane. So I just have a look at that. Have a look at the captaincies for each day. That may help with the decision, I think, but it is tough. It's very, very close. You, Matt. Dave Simple Goal says, I want to buy Jesus, but I need to sell one of Alisson, Salah, Kane, or Diaz. Is it really worth it? Whoosh, that is a tough one.
Do you know what it is? Play Bournemouth, and then they play Fulham, and then they play Villa, Man United, Everton, Brentford.
You got to get him, Dave.
Like the fixtures are good and the price point's great. What was the options? Alisson,
Salah, Kane, or Diaz. Tough one.
If I already had Kane, I would just captain Kane on Saturday, and I probably wouldn't make the move. And then if a injury comes up or something, then have a think about how you can take advantage of extra games, perhaps to fit them in for the following week. Not too sure. It's difficult to say without seeing the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think if you've got Kane, I'd captain him Saturday and just get another week's worth of information. Personally, I think.
Yep.
Paul Sky player in FPL, looking a little further ahead. Would be a captain on Sunday the 28th of on Sunday the 28th if moving Kane back to Haaland in game week 3. So on this day we've got Wolves, Newcastle, Villa, West Ham, Forest, and Spurs. So this is what I kind of meant earlier about have a look at the fixtures, because that is a tough captaincy to cover there, Paul.
I imagine people's plans would be Kane to Haaland, and then Haaland back to Kane.
Yeah. Yes, it's 2 for 0, then a 2 for 0, and then they both play on the same night, don't they, on the Wednesday? So yes, it's a tough one there.
There's going to be some big point swings, like getting captaincies right, because unless you're using all these transfers to get all the players, you're never going to have you're never always going to have the most captained player.
Ben, so we've asked about Rashford, and he also asks, what is the ideal jump-off point for Bowen? Want to move into a Chelsea defender, but no clear time to do it. Assuming that him saying that West Ham are playing Brighton on Sunday. It's a tough time to do it, isn't it?
They are always. What team is it he was looking to? Oh, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like
so
Tuesday the 30th. Because because West Ham play Spurs the following day. Tuesday the 30th, get the captaincy for Chelsea away to Southampton, maybe.
Or I'd probably do that then as well. If you're just looking to do the straight swap without maneuvering anything else around.
Julian Wardle, what are the thoughts on 2 Wolves centre defenders? So we've mentioned this already. Could this just be a play-in Fulham thing or a potential route in mid-term? So we touched on that earlier, so hopefully that has helped you, Julian. Wait and see, I think. I'm not convinced personally, purely because I think there are better options around that price point, personally.
Yeah.
Paul fancies them.
It wasn't just a Fulham thing though, because they both picked up passing bonus against Leeds on the opening weekend as well. Yeah. That's not to say they're defensively sound and great assets though, but I think it's maybe gain 5 or 6 weeks worth of info before doing anything.
I think they're a bit expensive for me. Agreed. I think if they were kind of 6.97 million, and you were just looking for 4 points every week, I get it, but I think for 8 million for me, I don't really fancy him. Alan M in the chat asks, what would you say is the minimum amount of transfers going into the World Cup? He's thinking 35-ish. What are you thinking, Paul? That seems a hell of a lot.
What was it like? It was 40% of the season's done or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so 40% would be what? 30 left.
Yeah, I think somewhere between 30 to 35 would be adequate, I think.
Oh, sorry, he said 35-ish. I was thinking we only had 40 transfers. I was thinking only 5 transfers, but 30 to 35 sounds about right, doesn't it? Hoping to have more. hoping to have more. I think the route through to the World Cup generally is quite straightforward, captaincy wise, and the fact that a lot of the
it's just
big teams
it's the rotating. Yeah, it's just like these rotating the bit, like the big captain hitters. I think where the transfers are getting used just now. But some people will be in a position where, they picked up Thiago to begin with, got injury.
Yeah,
Liam Dorian went through a horrid run of.
You have 4 on the bounce or something.
Yeah, it was like all that 8 to 9 million midfielder bracket, not midfielder bracket, maybe it was midfielders only, but yeah, you just kept bouncing on to the next player that got injured, onto the next player that got injured. So it does happen.
Paul Holden Warren asks, looking a little further ahead, what are your plans for Leicester versus Man United single game day? How far away is that? That's a while.
At present, Skip.
Really?
And I don't particularly like Leicester's fixtures afterwards. Otherwise, I would have said at present, if Fofana stays, him, Maddison, or Tielemans would be the players I'd be looking at. But
they're away to Brighton, but then they are home to Villa after on the 10th, which is not a bad fixture.
They play Spurs or something
after that. Yeah. And then after that, they're home to Forest on a single day, Monday, the 3rd of October.
Okay, maybe it was an oversight on me looking at the fixtures. One of those 3, I think.
Not Vardy.
Just when the games come thick and fast, I'd be concerned about these minutes.
Yeah, I think the fact they've got the single game day, which obviously Forest, everyone's looking at Forest because they play on the following Friday, don't they, as well?
And we're currently fighting over Jesus, Kane, and Haaland.
Yeah,
I don't know that I'd want to move on to Vardy and then miss one of those players the following week as well.
Yeah, Maddison for me, I think, was he 9.3
something.
But yeah, I quite fancy that because they have the Forest game. I'm not. Yeah, agree that Henderson is a great option for Forest, but
you could do a 3-for-1 daisy chain move. Maddison, and on that Thursday, then Leicester play Brighton, as you said. Then they're at home to Aston Villa, but they play Aston Villa on the Saturday, and then you've got Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, Newcastle, Palace, Man United, Leeds, Forest, all of those teams that you could move on to.
I'm always nervous as well, though, of planning transfers like that so far ahead because there's I think there's nearly a month in between them because there's an international break in between as well, so you never know what's going to happen to you.
Well, it's the last game in that round of matches, so you can be flexible and you don't need to. You'd always be gaining an extra fixture from it anyway.
Cool. Asher, would you bin off Brendan Johnson for a cheap enabler, considering Forest's relentless signings? Plus, is it worth just taking the short-term hits on underperforming players and saving those precious transfers in the hope the tide changes? So yeah, I've got Johnson in my team. He's been underwhelming so far from a points perspective. Could look to move him on to Kamara, for example, or someone else similar and save the budget for elsewhere and and hope for a bit more. But obviously we have got those, we haven't brought him in for kind of 1 or 2 games. He did score, he was offside. They have got the captaincies coming up as well. What are your thoughts on Brendan Johnson?
You get an extra game on Saturday as well to assess how he is against Everton. If you're still unhappy, then you can move him on to Caicedo. Rice is around about that price as well. So there's a few options.
I think I'm going to keep. I just think, for who we've been moving him on for potentially, especially if you're already at 5 at the back, if you're going to move him on for a midfielder, you've got to hope that in the next few games, say the next 4 or 5 games, that Johnson doesn't return and that the person you get him in for gets bonus nearly every game for even it to make it even a semi-worthwhile sort of transfer. Unless
it's all about
elsewhere.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly that.
Yeah. Perry Hart, can VVD cover Salah this evening? Good question.
I think we mentioned this earlier on. Would I be surprised if VVD outscored Salah? No. It's an ownership thing for me. I'd rather captain the most highly owned player, knowing that he has
all
got
fail together.
All fail together, yeah.
That's what we should call a podcast. All fail together. FF Waterfall. Is a mini overhaul after game week 3 reasonable? If there is 3 or so players in your team you're not happy with, no gains, just a straight up overhaul. I personally like this kind of way of play. The way I play Telegraph is don't try and get personally right little extra gains. I like to reshape my team for the next 4 weeks, for example. Do you think that's a Sky tactic that could be useful?
Yeah, I like trying to do the combination, like a combination of the two.
I bet you do.
And this is like
Scottish.
that whole like this is I imagine the way that the question was worded that it's not possible to do that in this instance, and fair enough. I wouldn't completely discourage it if there was ever the opportunity to make one small move out of the 3 a week earlier to get the extra fixture, to then do the other 2 the following week, or like any fixture gains within that plan. Perfect. If not, then yeah, don't see any.
I think for me, it's the word in there. So I've seen a couple of questions. We've got another question next, but in this one, he says that you're not completely happy with. Now, that for me intimates that he's looking to optimize more than, rather than just the players he's got are absolutely dreadful. He doesn't really like them. Whereas we have had a question a bit later on around that they're really not happy with, sort of thing. But I think they're different answers personally. Luke Thompson, who would you transfer in for De Gea? We'll have 7.3 to spend. Would you go for Henderson and get the change in the captaincies? Yeah.
Henderson
6.5. Charlie Monkman, currently in a 5-3-2 with MGW. Oh, more Gibbs White. I don't know why I saw that as Van Gerwen for a second. And got Van Gerwen in midfield. And Brennan Johnson making up 2 of the midfielders. Not happy with either of them. So again, around Johnson, just hold off a bit, Charlie. Personally, just hold off a little bit until something really naturally takes your eye that you can't not do. I think it's early still. It's only a couple of games in. What do you think, Paul? Do you agree?
Yeah, good advice.
Ryan West says the same about Brennan Johnson. Rich Monroe, after the first 2 game weeks, is Fred now a must in everyone's team going forward? What kind of question is that, Paul? What kind of question is that?
I'm just going to pick my charity on Just Giving for you to make your donation to.
Not done yet, mate. It's not done yet. You got Liverpool next week.
See if he scored against Liverpool last week, I still don't think you're going to make it.
Is he a must in everyone's team going forward? Come on, Rich. That's unfair.
You can't even pick up man of the match. So even if he scored next week and say he got 8 points, that takes him to only 12. He'd have to score the following week as well.
I think I saw something on Twitter. I think Dan and Ian were messaging around saying, about him being hooked, or is there another word for it this time? And I think my word this week. So I put rested in the first week. I'm going to use the word sacrificed this week. I'm just gonna go into like synonyms on Google every week. Google synonyms for like just look at things for dropped and stuff and just use a different word.
I thought thesaurus. It's like did you watch that episode of Friends where Joey writes the whole letter out but uses a thesaurus to change everything?
Exactly that. That's what I'm gonna do for my to explain my Fred punt. Sam says, consider a move from Son to Nunes if he starts. Good idea if you had 2 Spurs assets already. I'm not sure I would, Sam, personally. Got Wolves on Saturday. I don't know. I just think it's a luxury move, personally. Paul?
Yeah, it's not kind of move I would make. Maybe that's why I'll probably never win the game. But, I mean, if you're looking for a explosive differential tonight and captain them, then it would be a good move. If you're kind of like got a really high risk tolerance, then yeah. But yeah, not a move I'd personally make.
FPL Foxy, have we got any planned or potential transfers coming up for our teams? My original plan was Kane to Haaland on Sunday. I think at the moment that's my only real one. I'll probably have a look at Chelsea defender at some point. I kind of want to hold out for Fofana. I've got no one in the bank. I've got Saliba. I would love to be able to just do Saliba to Fofana, basically for free. Because if I want to get Koulibaly, for example, I have to take out. Well, I either have to make 2 transfers, or I have to take out Van Dijk or Cancelo, who for me are season keepers. So,
yep.
Other than that, no. All I know, you've got maybe who's lined up over the next few weeks. But
I want to get Koulibaly in. I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to crunch some numbers and see if I can make gains on Sunday. If not, I'll hold off, and even if I don't get a fixture gain out of it, or if I have to do 2 moves to get it and get 1 fixture gain on one and one, not another, then I could do it the following week.
Do Alisson to Henderson, which will give you 1.5 million.
Yeah, but the problem is Henderson plays Man City, Spurs, and it's got like a small run of tough games coming up.
Those are save points.
I know I could return. Yeah.
Julian Wardle says, in line with your Fergie is a punt feature on Green Arrow, do you think it's a little feature we could do on 3 for 1? He wants to call it Fergie Bet Fred. This Fred comment. So
I like it. It's good pun. Good pun though.
Fergie Bet Fred. I like that. Unless yeah.
You want to set something up for next week, and we can.
Yeah, we'll have a 1 week punt every game week, and if it doesn't come off,
why don't we do 1 versus 1 on a weekly basis?
I like it.
And then the difference in points, you have to pay pounds to a charity at the end of the season.
Now you're talking.
Of the other person's choosing.
Now you're talking. Yeah. We'll do that. I tell you what, we'll put each other on the spot this week and do it this week as well. But okay. I haven't looked at the ownership. The whole point on Green Arrow is to look for someone under 1% owned. So we'll have a look. Maybe we'll just pick a player this week, but then for next week, it's got to be a low owned player. That's the whole point of it. In Your Dream says thoughts on Rodrigo, not just because of his start, but he also ended last season well, and he mentioned Henderson. Rodrigo, Paul.
7.4 million. Yeah. I picked up, he got tier 2 shots bonus at the weekend.
And 2 goals.
I just think with the forward players at a minimum, but then maybe you could move Saliba onto him if he didn't start picking up bonus. I just think Arsenal's fixtures are too good in the short run.
Yeah.
But he could be a good option for that first Nottingham Forest captaincy day. I think it's Monday. It's mid-September sometime. So, yeah, I think he's good and at a good price point.
Yeah, I agree.
So definitely on the outskirts of any watch list that I would be preparing.
I love that. On the outskirts of any watch list.
Oh, it's like I've got short-term plans, and then if I need someone to help facilitate those plans, then I could bring players in.
Danny Welbeck is 7.5 million, just 0.1 more. Hashtag just saying.
So your pick for this week then?
Not for this week, I don't think, but he will be shortly. George Parker has Tyler Adams as an enabler. 8 points from 2 games, 7.3 million. Is it worth going cheaper? Well, 8 points from 2 games for 7.3 million. Happy days for me there, George.
I told him unless you need the budget elsewhere. But similar to Brennan Johnson, but even better than Brennan Johnson in the fact that he's picking up points just now.
A few more questions around Brennan Johnson. A lot of people not happy with Brennan Johnson. Gordon Bell, and this is the one I mentioned earlier. If you were really unhappy with players in your team, would you forget about looking for fixture gains and just get rid now?
Yeah, well, it was similar to the question about the 3 moves, like mini overhaul type situation.
I think it is, but I think difference in words. I maybe read a bit, a bit too much into it. But I feel the other question was a little bit more wanted to optimize. Whereas I think Gordon is really unhappy with players. If you're really unhappy, I just do it, Gordon, personally, because the game's supposed to be fun. And if you're looking at your team and just hating your team, that's not fun at all. So if you are really unhappy, I would just do it. and just enjoy it personally. George Thomas asks around, would you do Diaz to VVD tonight, next Monday, or not at all?
I wouldn't do it.
Not at all. And FPL Spartans, who was also in the chat, this was a question I was also going to ask. So thank you so much, everyone, for all your questions. That was superb. Hopefully that's helped everyone. Geo Boys in the chat says, Fred evolved away from the pitch. That's another thing I can use. I have to get my thing of synonyms out for when Fred gets taken off at half time every week. You definitely sacrificed this week, though. Let's be honest, though. Look at that. Look at the performance of Man United. Look at the villains in that side who caused that goal. And Fred was nowhere near him, was he? That second goal. I mean, if that was like a non-league team in the FA Cup, people would just be laughing. Oh, look at them, la la la. This is Man United. Like how uncomfortable did De Gea and Martinez look when they were knocking the ball back and forth in their own 6-yard? They just looked so uncomfortable. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. It's like a parody. It's like Boris Johnson being our Prime Minister. It's like do you feel, Paul, like we're living in a parody? I do. I feel like we're living in spitting image. I think it's like the Truman Show at the moment. Where
did you watch? Oh, you go.
No. Just going to say, I feel like we're living in the Truman Show, where someone's going to come on our TV like a breaking news thing, and just like it's loads of people laughing and saying, just to let you know, for the last 5 years we've been doing an experiment on like human behavior. None of this is real. Donald Trump wasn't president of the United States. Boris Johnson is not your prime minister, and just everything else. Like Man United are really not that bad, and the world just goes back to how it was before. That's how I feel. Is it just me, Paul?
It's like we're a 3D world living in 4D.
Exactly that. Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say, did you watch the new series of Spitting Image? They remastered it. I used to like the originals.
Yeah.
It took me back.
It did. Was it back in like the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, like John Major.
When he was all grey. Was he grey?
Yeah, he was trying to cut his toenails, but he cut his toes off instead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Glenn said, I am Fergie, Paul's not. I reckon I'm living the parody and you're recording it, Paul. And I reckon this podcast is like part of the experiment. Is
like Ed TV.
Exactly. I reckon you're running an experiment. And on this podcast in a few weeks, you're going to say, Fergie, I've got something to tell you. Anyway, that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and listening. We hope you'd enjoyed. Your continued support, as usual, is much, much appreciated. Best of luck this evening for the Liverpool game. The team's not quite out yet, are they? But interested to see those. Thank you, Paul. As usual, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty, MCANULTY. And we're just about to record the Nip and a Half podcast as well. So if you like other formats of fantasy football, Fergi and I are doing a season-long bet on who can amalgamate the best combined score across the games. That
will be out later on this evening as well. It's only short, but hopefully it's fun. My handle on Twitter is at FFH_Fergie. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Give us 5 stars and leave some comments. We'll be back next Monday reviewing the weekend's action and looking ahead to Sky Game Week 4. Have a great week and weekend all, and goodbye for now.